If your football team had one option in their playbook, the results probably wouldn't be great. The same could be said for your investments. SIBO index options like SPX and XSP can help expand your investing strategies with cash settlement and potential tax advantages. If you're ready for a more dynamic game plan, head to betterwithoptions.com. SIBO, life is better with options. Your investments could be too. There are risks associated with SIBO company products. Review the disclosures and disclaimers at SIBO.com/US_disclaimers.
Don't miss out on the final football game of the season with Prize Picks. Join now because Prize Picks are giving away a free pick for the big game where 1 yard equals 1 win. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger Delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Hey Atlanta, Apple is open for small business. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. With privacy and security built in on all devices, it's easy for you to protect your customers' data. And if you need hardware or software support, you'll get advice from business experts at no cost whatsoever. So you can focus more on the soup du jour and less on, the other stuff. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise Podcast, the soon-to-be award-winning Pointless Exercise Podcast. I'm sure whenever The Athletic comes out with their podcast survey thing, whatever that was. With me, as always, to remember some crap, is Mike Donahue. Mike, how are you?
Good, Andy. Just clearing off my mantle for said award.
I wonder if do you think it's the award is crystal? Or is it a golden statuette? If it's The Athletic possibly. And it's a T-shirt, that would be the first time I got anything from them.
Well, how about that?
I only worked there for 4 years, and my one reward was I got to pay full price for my own subscription.
Wow, that's what your sweat equity got you, huh?
That's right.
Oh, maybe a T-shirt's in your future still.
I hope.
Yeah.
So before we spin the wheel of crap. For those of you, because we have listeners all over the world, especially Sweden. Swedes love the show.
Very, very cosmopolitan.
But I would think most of the listeners are in the northern Illinois, Chicagoland, southern Wisconsin area,
or hail from here.
And the weather this week has been very, very interesting, alternating between storms and oppressive heat. It's been a lot of fun. So it's been especially fun for me because when you add the 4th of July to it, we had the perfect storm of fireworks, which one of the dogs is deathly afraid of.
Very anti. Got it.
He's very small, thankfully, but he basically becomes a scarf. He climbs up you and wraps around your neck like a cat in terror.
Does he sink his claws into you too?
No. Thankfully,
well,
that doesn't do that.
Thank God for small lessons.
And then one of the other dogs is deathly afraid of thunder, to the point where her, panting and tongue out of the side of her head, and it looks like she's about to convulse and pass out.
So one reacts viscerally to fireworks, but not necessarily thunder, and the other one reacts to thunder.
She didn't like the fireworks, but they didn't cause a panic. So little George, very scared of the fireworks. Elsie, very scared of the thunder. Beasley, typically not scared of much, but I think she's smart enough to know that if you hear thunder, get in the house because you're going to get wet. And then there's Lucas, who's just kind of, hey, what's everybody worried about? So,
Nice.
Fireworks, it's not just a 4th of July thing. There's all the morons in the neighborhood that fire them off for days before. But on the 4th, it's when the big fireworks were here in beautiful Rockford, Illinois. And so the fireworks are going off, and we could see them from our house, which is kind of nice. But we could also hear them from the house. So George is freaking out. And all I'm worried about is there's also a thunderstorm coming. And all I'm worried about is I need a window where the fireworks stop so the dogs can all go outside and go to the bathroom before they go.
Right. They would refuse otherwise.
Yes. And that never happened. The fireworks
ended.
As
soon as the grand finale ends.
Actually, it was really cool. When I went out in the front yard where I could see the fireworks. And looking off to the east, I could see all the fireworks. To the north and the west, there was lightning without any thunder. There was just light. So there was just a light show everywhere. It was like, whoo, look at this. We're really living.
Nice.
Just about the time the fireworks ended, skies opened up, thunder, lightning, pouring rain, and 4 dogs in the house. None of them had gone to the bathroom.
And then they're being reminded of that as it's raining,
yes,
right?
That's all they can hear is the running water. But the reason this all sets up, then last night we had an even bigger thunderstorm. And so Elsie, the one who's panicked by the thunder, is, she's just, it's horrible. She's scared to death. She's
not having it.
Shaking. And so we have a thunder shirt for her. You know what a thunder shirt is?
Is that like some sort of a sensory weighted blanket of sorts?
Kind of. It's just as far as I can tell, it's just like a really tight dog shirt. But it's got Velcro all over it. It's a pain in the ass to put on.
Compression. It is for pressure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Elsie's losing her mind, and so my wife decides, let's put the thunder shirt on her. And I'm like, no. We're going to be wrestling with her for like 20 minutes trying to put the thunder shirt on her. So now she's scared to death of the thunder. And now the 2 people that she trusts the most in the world are trying to wrestle her to the ground to wrap her in this thing. And that's exactly what happened. Fur flying, her panicked. We get the thunder shirt on her. And it may have alleviated her terror by 4%. Which was outweighed by the 140% of the 2 of us holding her down and trying to put a straitjacket. Doggy version of a straitjacket.
A net negative, as it was.
Yes. So we're enjoying I didn't get much sleep because freaked out dogs who, in the middle of the night, then if they get particularly scared, will come. I'm apparently the one who's going to save them. So I will look up and have a dog standing on me in the middle of the night in the bed.
Yes, right.
The one is pushing 40 pounds, and it's not a lot of fun to have her standing on your head. And then, of course, when I realized that the rain has stopped, it's like, okay, we're going outside. You guys are going to the bathroom. So that it happens in the yard and not in the house. So I don't know. Last night, that was about 3:30 in the morning. I'm standing out in the yard with 4 dogs running around. Now they're just very excited. Lots of stuff to smell. Things to bark at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like, just stop it.
That's the worst when you get woken up. You try to manage it so the dog will get through the night. Mine usually does, but you get that 3:30 nudge and like, oh, he's acting strange. He's got to go because I got to do it now. He's not going to let me sleep. And you're right. You go. I mean, I let him out and I watch him through the back window of the door. And he's just taking his own sweet ass time. And like the longer you're up, the more you start to panic. Am I going to stay up now? I want to stay in that slumber zone where I'm only half asleep and I'll go right back to sleep. Usually I'm able to, but it is always like, I got to stand here now for a couple of minutes.
Well, and then we get back in the house. They all pile back into the bed. They're all wet. Like, oh, this is great.
So, some of the Midwest kids.
And we're not supposed to have 4 dogs. We're supposed to have 2.
Yeah.
As I believe I've talked about on a podcast before, we got roped into fostering dogs, and we were terrible at it. And we ended up keeping 2 of the ones we were supposed to be adopting out. And so
you were a mark for a big foster care.
Suckers. So we have 4.
There you go.
All right, everybody's like, "Wow, that's great. I'm glad they're talking about dogs."
Now you know the rest of the story.
All right, so we're getting down towards the end here of our
9 to go. Believe it or not, we've done 23 of these seasons, 15 of which have been teams under 500.
There are some prime seasons left.
There are 3 500 teams left. The remaining 5 are all under 5, or remaining 6 are all under 500.
So I will tease it that we cheated. I have removed a season from the wheel because next week we have a special guest who's going to be on with us to talk about. Oh, I might as well just tease it. Now, I'm not going to tease who it is, but the 1985 season, Cubs and other teams included, we have a special guest who's going to come on and discuss that with us. He's very excited. I think he thought he was kidding when he said he wanted that we're his favorite. He didn't kid when he said we were his favorite podcast. I think he thought, it'd be funny if he had me on someday, and I held him to it.
Right.
So it'll be a 3-man pod next week.
And that man's name is Joaquin Andujar.
God, that would be great.
Walk us through Game 7 again, Joaquin. All right, so yeah, I don't think it's a concern. I don't, if we're doing it this way, obviously the whole shtick is that we don't prepare because how could you? Although it gets
I'm still not preparing.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, I don't have to because especially we go to the 80s.
We've done this once before. We've already had a special edition, the 1977, and I didn't prepare for that either. So.
I really didn't either. I jumped into it. We let Fork tell a lot of stories and then, pulled some facts, remembered a few things. And yeah, but yeah, that's the tease. Looking forward to that.
Everybody's like, well, can't we just listen to that? No, you have to listen to this first. Right.
It's the price of admission.
That's how this works. All right. But we really are going to, so this next week, we're not spinning, but this week we really are spinning the wheel. So here we go. Oh no.
I'll have to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So we're going to do the 2010 Cubs. A season so good that Lou Piniella couldn't even finish it.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll start with your 5 things about the 75 win. 2010.
I'm going to have to admit that I've prepared for this throughout the course of this just because I was afraid it would come up because I had to remember things. I was in a fog, but some things that I've kind of remembered is that, yes, Lou Piniella's final opening day as Cubs manager, but he could not finish the season. He had to create his sick mom, but he really needed to just go home and float in the pool.
What are you talking? What are you talking about, Mom? She's on her deathbed.
I believe 2010 was the last season of Derek Lee, traded late in the year. If I'm wrong, kill me. Otherwise, we can, maybe dive into that. It was also, I want to say, the final opening day for Carlos Zambrano, ending a pretty impressive run, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7 consecutive opening days. And I'm pretty sure he got bombed in this one, so it's at least the 3rd or 4th in which the Cubs gave up double-digit runs.
He retired. Remember that?
During this season?
Yes.
No, but I look forward to
He was back. He was back a few days
rehearing it. Starlin Castro made a splash in his debut. That was fun for a team that was pretty woeful and had basically petered out of the brief run that we had a few years earlier. Gave us some hope for the future, and he would stick around a while. And I could be wrong. I'm gonna throw it out there. Could have happened in 2011. Don't care because I never get tired of laughing about that. That's horrible. But isn't 2010 could be the season in which Tyler Colvin got stabbed in the chest by a bat? I think it was 2011. I know he was on the team though, former first-round pick. Tyler Colvin. But yeah, this is second Ricketts year. They're actually in the picture here at the very end. And just another nadir, probably, I guess. We're a couple years removed from, 07, 08, the fantasy team that Jim Hendry built that just pretty much ended up in a pile of heap that was the 2010 Cubs. So let's see where we go with this.
September 19th, 2010. Tyler Colvin impaled with a broken bat.
Crazy. Did Josh? So Colvin was a first-round pick in 06, and
Out of Clemson.
was Josh Vitters?
Sweeney.
Okay, and he was a college player. And Vitters was not. Vitters was the next year, 07. So I don't think Vitters would have been on this team. So I don't know if we're ever gonna. If we didn't talk about Josh Vitters in the 2011, then
he's coming back, right? Isn't he playing independent ball? Let's wait till he makes his comeback.
Oh,
we need to remember this. He should be playing for the 2022 Cubs.
Like the Luke Haggerty redo that never actually happened. So no, there's no sign of Josh Vitters in the 2010 Cubs. So he was still basically the paragon of many prospect perverts in 2010. At that point, he was probably 21 and a great hope. On the other hand, Colvin had been up, and other than getting stuck in the chest, I can't think of too many memorable Tyler Colvin moments. So
there's some great quotes here in the story by Bruce Levine. Starts out, this is always a fun way to start an article after a game. Cubs outfielder Tyler Colvin is in stable condition at a Miami hospital after he was hit in the upper chest by a piece of maple bat. Hit? Is hit the right word, Bruce?
Hit. Right. Yeah, he didn't suffer a laceration underneath the eye or like a bruise or a black eye.
I feel really bad about it, Wellington Castillo said. It wasn't on purpose, but he's my teammate. The but is an interesting addition to that sentence.
Let's unpack that.
It wasn't on purpose, but he's my teammate, and
right.
I've always wanted to stab one.
He's my teammate whose locker is across from me, who won't own up to the fact that he stole my fucking, he stole
my shower shoes.
Shoe. Yeah, my shower shoe. Like, so somehow Wellington had to battle through all kinds of emotions like, yes, that fucker got it. Oh, wait, I don't want people to think I did it. So
it wasn't on purpose, but he's my teammate. I hope he's getting better. Yeah, and then I'm sure the next sentence was, because I want to do it again.
Yes. There's that. And the other more plausible explanation is that Bruce Levine is serving as the translator. So perhaps something got lost in translation for Wellington's
A Cubs spokesman said Colvin was in stable condition at Jackson Memorial Hospital and is expected to remain there for the next few days for observation. People just want to stare at a goober who managed to get a shard of bat stuck in him. Yep. Bruce reports the portion of the bat hit him in the upper left side of the chest. It punctured, but did not stick in his chest. Doctors are taking x-rays on Colvin's chest, and there's a suture on the wound. They're still taking x-rays, Bruce? The team said there's minimal external bleeding. Colvin was being treated with a chest tube to prevent a collapsed lung. And then I like this. It's scary. That's the danger of a maple bat, Jeff Baker said. That's right, the renowned danger of the maple bat. Well, it's a good bat, but it will get stuck in somebody's chest on occasion.
I feel like there's easy to find video of it, and I don't remember seeing it in a while, but so did he have like a big like red spot? He didn't, right? Like it wasn't like...
No, I don't remember there was like he started bleeding. He was holding his chest. Like, what the fuck is poked me? And I'm sure afterwards Bob Brenly was like, well, that's what he gets for not wearing his chest protector on the field.
Right.
He's an outfielder, and he was
right. No, he wasn't lined up far enough in foul territory as a base runner.
Well, Bob would have said meaner things about Tyler, but he's not a minority.
Right. No, but Aramis Ramirez was still bashing away on the 2010 Cubs. I'm pretty sure it'd be Aramis's last full season too.
The Cubs were all over the maple bat. Interim manager Mike Quade. These bats, I'm amazed it doesn't happen more. Like, what? Oh. We've seen guys get hit with pieces, but to actually get stabbed with one, I just don't ever remember seeing it. Yeah.
How is it maple bat? Right. How are maple bats somehow specifically
they make
any more
it sound like it's the Corvair. I mean, remember that Ralph Nader and the Corvair unsafe at any speed?
Yeah, unsafe at any speed. Yeah.
I don't know. Do people still
But
use them?
it's like
Now it's all
well,
about the hockey puck handles.
I
That's
feel
all we're
like
worried about.
I feel like they're almost like politicizing it. I know, like it can't just be a freak of physics, right? I mean, like bats break. Any bat breaks, not just maple. I mean, old ash bats still break. I don't know.
Not like these maple ones. Maple ones turn into knives.
Well, it takes such a confluence of just infinite odds of just so many events to like lead to him getting stabbed that may be particular to a maple bat. It's just I don't know. I guess I forgot about how much the maple bats had been demonized. I don't know if Big Maple has beaten that back with like their own NRA type of campaign, and you don't hear about it anymore. But I do remember like maple people just totally down on maple bats. Poor old Tyler Colvin almost got stabbed to death in 2010. Terrible. Yeah, I remember it was late in the season too, and it was like, again, not to beat a dead horse, but personally, as someone that, followed every pitch and as much as he could, as much as anybody for, at this point going, over 30 years, when that team in 2008 won 97 games and then trailed for all but 4 innings in the playoffs, and they couldn't play defense, and they were just something broke in me. And so 2009, 2010, 2011 are really a blur. I kept my tickets all the time. I know I was still going out there. But it's just so like fuzzy until those 3 years until Theo got here. But I do remember that season. Like Colvin was like, oh, another mediocre, pathetic season. Piniella walks away. Season's almost over. And our first round draft pick from 4 years ago just practically got stabbed to death. It was just like, it's just depressing.
Well, they got off to a great start. They were 5-9. Oh wait, that's not great. Then they did surge. They surged with a walk-off win against the Nationals on April 26th. They were 10-10 and right back in it. And then not long after that, they kind of muddled around 3 under, 4 under.
Okay.
They were just kind of mediocre. They got they had kind of a rough stretch in June, where they were like 9 under, 10 under.
Yeah.
So Lou bailed with a
before
51,
or after Colvin got stabbed.
Before.
50.
Lou was gone. That wouldn't have happened with Lou. Nobody got stabbed on Lou's watch. 51-70 for the lax. Mike Quade, hey, do whatever you want. Stab your teammates. It's fine.
Yeah.
Welly. Remember Quade, everybody's nickname?
Right.
He was hockey nicknames. Just your name with a Y on the end of it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, there was a guy, one of the colleges I worked at, we had this very distinguished professor who's originally from India, and his name was Kanwal. He's a very nice man. And one of the guys who worked at the college was one of those guys who just gave everybody nicknames, and he always called him Connie. Hey, Connie. It's like, no, you can't just apply that to everybody.
Who does this guy think he is? W. Bush?
Yeah, pretty much.
That was one of W's big things. By the way, before we get to the saga of Piniella just walking away and all of the crushed hopes that we had for a few years being taken with him, the Cubs literally never got above 500 for the entire season. They were at 500 a few times, once at 10-10 and once 13-13. But May 2nd, last time they were even at 500.
Well, the season started with a bang.
Well, like I know, I saw that. I was right about another opening day tub shitting by Zambrano.
Well, no, it's the Cubs in the first inning of the first season, or first game of the season. Marlon Byrd hits a 3-run homer, and the Cubs are cruising.
Woo!
They're up 3-0. Can't stop us. Going right back to the playoffs. We made 2 out of the last 3 years.
That's right.
And then the bottom of the first didn't go so well. And to add insult to injury in hindsight,
the
big blow was.
Can you just walk us through this inning? By the way,
right.
I think it deserves a little bit of build up.
Right.
Some fans might know what we're going.
And it's funny because the game, it was Carlos Zambrano against Derek Lowe. And remember,
Derek Lowe had been a Dodger in 2008, right?
Yes, he had. And not only that, but he was very nearly. Hendry had been trying to trade for him. He loved Derek Lowe. He's going to get him. And he ends up going to the being a playoff hero for the Red Sox when they finally won the World Series in
04. Yep.
Because I think Jim was trying to get him on the 03 Cubs. In fact, there was it was during the 04 season, there was talk of a Matt Clement for Derek Lowe swap.
That's a pretty good pull. I don't remember that.
Didn't happen. So then Derek Lowe ends up pitching against the Cubs in the 08 playoffs. And here it is just 2 years later. And he's the opening day starter for the Braves. My, how the Braves had fallen.
Yes.
The days of Glenn, Smoltz, and Maddox are all...
But of course, this would only turn out to be a sort of, denouement or whatever, like intermezzo, because they've been, largely okay for the last 10 years.
They're a real franchise. They don't have to rebuild every 6 years. Right. So anyway, he's on the mound, and Cubs get 3 runs, and we're going to exercise some demons. Here comes Carlos. Now, Carlos, it was the year before, right, in Arizona, where things went bad, and he... No,
05. 05 in Arizona.
Oh, God. So it was that long before? Where he made the glasses for the ump, my all-time favorite, after he got ejected?
I want to say 06 in Cincinnati. He also got blown up. And there may have been one other, but there are at least 3 with 10 runs scoring. So yeah, we love us. We love us some Carlos. We don't hide that fact. It's just a matter of fact to say the guy was absolutely hilariously awful pretty much on opening day, though.
So Carlos walks Melky Cabrera to start the game, or start the bottom of the first. Gives up a single to the great Martin Prado. Runners at first and third.
Who still playing as recently as 2 years ago, I know, because he was on my roto team.
Larry Wayne Chipper Jones singles, which scores.
You see, it's a pop fly to short center field.
Yes, right.
How much you want to bet Carlos lost his shit that nobody caught that ball? It was Ryan Terrio.
How could it have fallen in between the scrappy Ryan Terrio and the heavy-legged Marlon Bird?
The human fire hydrant named Marlon Bird. That was our center fielder on opening day. I believe Marlon Bird was an all-star, though, that year. Obviously driven by offense, I'm pretty sure, which would make, as much as we rag upon, rightfully so, the Cubs have not had any kind of a regular center fielder for at least
the fourth best center fielder in Cub history.
Or since Andy Pafko, at least. So one drops in, and the base runner had good instincts and read it. Melky scores. Now it's 3-1.
Yeah. So second, third. First and third. Brian McCann singles. Loads of bases. Troy Gloss comes up. He strikes out. So now Carlos is right at the ship. Everything's going to be fine. Yunel Escobar singles. Just gets through the Cubs.
Another seeing eye single that had to have obviously enraged Carlos.
How did it get between Mike Fontenot and Ryan Terrio? I don't know. Somehow. So now... runners at that scored 2.
They scored 2. So now the game's tied. McCann's on second, 1 up, and so the game's tied.
So a rookie outfielder, his major league debut, strides to the plate.
First major league plate appearance.
And Carlos immediately falls behind 2-0, gives him a fastball, and Jason Hayward hits a 3-run homer, which Chip Caray lost his mind and put him in the Hall of Fame off one swing.
What could be more Chip Caray than overreacting to a guy's first major league swing?
He's going to be the greatest player of all time. And the Cubs are down 6-2.
Well, at that moment, it was impressive because it was like the ball was hit about 450 feet, I feel like. And he was a hot prospect, right? He and Bryce Harper, I think, were like the two of the top he was a legit prospect then, and he did have one really good season. I don't know if it was his rookie year. But yeah, you pointed it out. There were warning signs through his last couple of years in Atlanta and even in his 1 year in St. Louis. But yeah, at this point, he looked like an absolute fucking stud.
Jason Hayward, despite the fact that the Cubs are paying him $184 million, has been an all-star one time. And it was this season, his rookie season.
Wow. Is that right?
He was an all-star. He finished 20th in MVP voting, and he came in second in Rookie of the Year, behind only. It's got to be. Let's see.
By the way, if you wanted,
behind Buster Posey.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Buster won a World Series as a rookie. I did find a video, and if you were to play it, I would just have to warn the listeners to lower your volume because, Jesus Christ, you can't hear my...
I've heard Chip lose his shit.
Welcome to the show!
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve it. I would rather play Chip Carey Bites when he says something completely nonsensical, which there's no shortage of. But he almost ruined that. I mean, I get it. It's opening day. It's beautiful, warm days.
I think we have to play it.
All right. What the hell?
Okay. Got to play the State Farm commercial first.
Oh, I didn't even get that. Mine went right to it.
Oh,
that's weird.
Apparently, you got the fancy YouTube.
I don't think I do, but
I don't know. There's that. Well, what the hell? All right, this clip highlight from Chip's going to be brought to you by
I knew that was the last time I'd see Tom. I'd been spending too much.
I don't hear anything, by the way.
Don't cut back.
Oh, you can't hear
State Farm has races.
Yeah, for the benefit of the listeners, nobody's been blasted with...
They can hear it, just you can't.
All right. I don't need to.
Oh, you need to.
I can react to what you react to. Once I see blood running out of your ear, okay.
To fit your budget.
Sure.
Tom, I'll see you tomorrow.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
All right, that's enough.
Got it.
Swing and drive! Belton right! Welcome to the show!
Letting it breathe. Wait, he's letting it breathe.
I think he passed out. It was like, Chip. Oh, it was amazing how you laid out. I was laid out, all right. I had an aneurysm. I'm okay now. I can finish. I can do the rest again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so Jason Hayward as a rookie hit 277, a 393 on base, 456 slug, 849 OPS, 18 homers, 72 RBIs in 142 games. And hit a OPS plus of 131. He has never topped that. So he peaked as a rookie. He came close, which wouldn't have counted, in 2020 during the pandemic.
Oh, that's 129. Right.
But I've documented that over and over again, how that season he had 3 really good weeks, and the rest he was just as bad as always. But because the season was only 60 games, it propped up his stats enough that...
Yeah, help those rate stats when you look at them on Baseball Reference.
So, Carlos, kind of a rough game. He made it into the second, but then he got replaced by Sean Marshall. He gave up 6 hits. He walked 2. He gave up 8 runs, 2 homers, and his ERA after the end of the game was a cool 54.
Yeah. I will always love Carlos, but like I said, will not hesitate to point out what a shit show he was to, and pretty much every lid lifter. Although I'm pulling him up now just out of curiosity. He did outduel Roy Oswalt the year before in Houston, which I don't even remember that one, in 2009. That was the team coming off 97 wins. So, they weren't always shitty, but the law of averages would dictate that they can't all be shitty. I already referenced 2005 against the Diamondbacks. I'm pretty sure 2006 was the other one. But, a couple years in a row, he, battled the Brewers in 08. That was the Fukudome game. I just know, I don't even have to look it up because I know that he started every opening day. He would have started more opening days than Rick Sutcliffe, which would make him the guy that started more consecutive opening days than any other pitcher in our lifetime. Only lost 5-1 to Aaron Harang in 2007. So I might
go, Carlos. You only lost 5-1.
I may be overstating the case as far as the blow up, so it might have only been 3.
Yeah, well,
3
seems like a lot.
3 out of 7. All right, almost half.
His second inning in this game was great though, too. So he's it's 6-3, and Cubs go down 1-2-3. Including Carlos grounding out to short, so he's probably still mad about that. First batter, second inning is Prado again, and he hits him. I'd like to know what happened here. Chipper Jones hit a ground ball that Fontenot fielded and had to throw to Carlos, covering first.
D. Lee went out too far,
I guess.
Maybe.
Carlos, they get the out there, and then Carlos throws the ball away, and the run scores. And then the next batter, Brian McCann, hits a 2-run homer, and then Lou had to come out and get Carlos.
Yeah. Take him out of his misery.
And then there was some great pitch. Sean Marshall and the great James Russell combined for 4 2/3 scoreless to keep the Cubs in it. And then Jeff Samardzija gave up 6 runs in 1 1/3 of an inning. He had pitched worse than Carlos did. He had 180 ERA. Thank you, Jeff.
Wait, who is that?
Samardzija
did. Yeah. So that Carlos is only getting tagged for 6 of those runs. I mean, granted, it's 6 in less than 2 innings.
Well, Carlos gave up 8.
And then 8. All right. Yeah, that's awful. These are 3 of the 7 opening days in which Carlos Zambrano started. 2005, Cubs lose 16-6 to Arizona. 2006, Cubs lose 16-7 to Cincinnati. And then this 2010, and I don't have it up. What's the final score of the 2010 game?
15-6.
Yeah, wow, 47 runs in 3 games.
This 7th inning with Samardzija was pretty good. So he comes in. It's 8-5. So Cubs are somewhat. It's a wild game.
Yeah.
Cubs are still in it. Chipper Jones, walk. Chipper Steele, second. Brian McCann, walk. Troy Gloss, walk. Yunel Escobar, double. Everybody scores. Jason Hayward reaches on an error on Derek Lee.
That happens.
Run scores. Nate McLouth strikes out.
I remember Nate.
The only guy the Samardzija would get out, because then Eric Hinsky, all 248 pounds of him at the time, on his way.
Remember this crap favorite? Yep.
Triples to center, scoring Hayward, and he would come around to score. Justin Berg, who was part of the I always get that wrong. Was Berg in the Mark DeRosa trade?
Yeah.
Or is he an old Yankee? He might be an old.
No, he's in one of those trades. I want to say. I think when they got rid of Rosa, there was a glob.
Justin Berg was the product of the infamous Matt Lawton era. We talked about in 2005 when the Cubs made a deadline trade to get Matt Lawton and then traded him again before the season ended. And then Lawton went to the Yankees. I think he played in the playoffs that year and then tested positive for steroids. Or did he test positive right away?
Yeah, I don't think he ever played a game for the Yankees. So
Marlon Byrd would eventually flunk a PED test too.
Okay. Just to do the final tally for Carlos Zambrano on opening days, that won the year before when he outdueled Ray Oswalt. That was his first and only victory on opening day. Cubs lost every other opener, 05, 6, 7, 8, and 10.
Good job.
05, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. They won in 9 and then lost in 10. So I guess they only had 6 openers. Still more than Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe had 5. So you got to go back to Rick Russell. Find a pitcher that had as many consecutive starts on opening day.
Cubs' first win would come in Game 3, and it would be a gem, a 2-0 Cub win, started by Randy Wells.
Oh, is this the Randy Wells year, his career year?
Let's see, 2010, Randy Wells.
Years he was like
the year before. Okay, 09, 12-10 with a 305. He was 8-14 in 2010 with a 426.
Yeah. This is this is that zone. This is that area. It's the detritus from the 07-08 fantasy team. Soriano's still on the team. Had a lot of parts of teams that won divisions, even though they did shit in the playoffs. But it was just completely grinding down, and then it would hit an absolute bottom before it would, pick up again to the kind of the current-ish era. But it was a whole lot of bad.
Well, this Game 3, the Randy Wells game, he shut down Jason Hayward 0 for 4 against Randy Wells. This was Cub legend catchers passing in the night. The starting catcher for the Cubs in the game was Coy Hill. And late in the game for the Braves, defensive replacement, David Ross.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, back when he had hair. So that was exciting.
David Ross would be like a 7-year veteran by now.
Yeah, he'd already bounced around. Now, have we talked about this? Do you know who David Ross hit his first career home run against?
I do, and I remember the dumbest quote imaginable afterwards when he said that, I can tell my grandkids that my first home run was off a Hall of Famer. But it was Mark Grace, whom I adore. I love Mark Grace, but he's not a Hall of Famer, and he wasn't then. David Ross. Yeah, Grace came in for garbage time. I think Grace, he admitted he felt bad for Ross because it kind of took the sting out of.
He did an interview he was on the Dan Patrick Show, and they had Ross. They passed Ross in, and Grace apologized to him.
Right.
He said, "I feel bad because every major leaguer's first home run should be against a real pitcher. It should not be against me."
Yeah.
So probably thought I should have just hit the son of a bitch. I'd have been all for that.
Yeah, might have spared us. Yeah. Oh, you know who? I think 2010 would be the year. If there was like maybe a blurb of maybe life in me as a fan was getting excited about the 3 C's, and we've talked about 2 of them.
Oh God, yes.
Castro and Colvin, because we were still until they got stabbed. We were pretty excited about.
The Cubs were pretty excited about him. There was not a lot to be excited about.
He was a first-round pick, though,
right. And we knew he was at best going to be maybe an average player.
But we're dumb. Yeah, maybe
he did hit 20 homers in 2010.
Yeah, I bought it, even though all the warning signs were there. But can you, Andy, recall the 3rd C?
Oh, of course. Who actually he ended up being the most productive one for the Cubs, even though Starlin had a very successful run. Andrew Kashner became Anthony Rizzo.
That's right. And there was a game, maybe it wasn't in 2010, it could have been 2009, but I remember Kashner got the win. I think Marmol saved it, but I think Castro had a big hit, Colvin had a hit, and that was like the peak of my interest probably. And of course it's so forgettable I can hardly even find it. So
it had to be in 2010.
Because would that be the only time? Because
Starlin was a rookie in 2010.
Unless it was 2011, because that's possible.
Right.
But I don't know. I thought it was a Saturday win against the Cardinals, but I'm seeing one where Tom Gorzolani vultured to win and not Kashner.
The handsome Tom Gorzolani.
Right. Most famous for his lead role in Goonies. Was it Goonies or no? What am I thinking of?
Yeah, he was Sloth.
Right? Sloth, right. I'm not that sharp on my Goonies reference, to be honest. Yeah, maybe it was. But I don't know, high hopes there, Andrew Kashner, but you're right. Turned out to be very prudent to have dealt him when they did. Actually, I'll tell you, I did find the game. It's otherwise meaningless, but it was, unless, what's his name? Where's Colvin? Colvin was, So I'm pretty sure it was July 24th, 2010. And the only reason Kashner gets a shout out is because he had a hold, but I think he got a big out. But always nice when they beat the Cardinals. But if there's one day where you actually might have had hope for the future kids in 2010, A, you'd be an idiot, but B, it'd be the day that Tyler Colvin went a whopping 1 for 3, but he scored 2 runs, had an RBI, one of which was a homer. Basically, Colvin and Castro both went yard. Starling went 3 for 4. Marmol closed it down.
Well, yeah, John Greenberg likes to. The Cubs had did you get one of these? Did they give to all season ticket holders? They gave them the 3 C's autographed baseball for
maybe that's where I got it.
And it was Colvin, Kashner, and Castro.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. What a bunch. Well, yeah, I guess that leads into one of the few big moments of the 2010 season. That would be relatively early, right? Yeah, the 29th game of the season. May 7th. Cubs at Reds. The debut of Starlin Castro.
Nice call. Friday, I was driving to Michigan. I remember listening to it.
And let's see, where did he batted? Batted eighth. Tucked in between Giovanni Soto and we got to get rid of Milton Bradley, so we'll take Carlos Silva.
Right? Who won his first 4 starts of the year, and we thought, hey, maybe we have something here. So, all right, again, you could be forgiven to think the Cubs may have had something in a youth movement there. There's Giovanni, right? 2 years removed from a Rookie of the Year. And now here comes the 20-year-old shortstop who proceeds to do what exactly in his debut?
Well, so in recent years, right, we've had Wilson Contreras hit a home run on the first pitch he ever saw in the big leagues. Christopher Morel, he also homered in his first at-bat. Is that right?
Baez and Soler homered in their first games.
And Starlin Castro, in the first at-bat in the big leagues, hit a 3-run homer off Homer Bailey.
Yeah.
And that was only half of the RBIs he would drive in that day. He was 2 for 5 with a homer and 6 RBIs in his big league debut. And the Cubs won 14-7. They against the plucky Reds. The Cubs were 14-16. The Reds were 14-15. And they were on their way. Things were going to turn around with their new shortstop, Ryan Theriot,
right.
Go away loser. And didn't really propel them to great heights in 2010.
This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts. Only at theaters February 7th.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you've heard that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Make this summer count with Harvard Summer School. With Harvard's free college programs, high school students gain confidence and insight into what college is all about, challenge themselves, and discover new friends. There are over 200 courses to choose from, including college credit courses, so it's the ideal way for students to learn something new, but most importantly, have fun. Visit info.summer.harvard.edu/Spotify to learn more.
No, but just finally ridding us of the anthropomorphic Muppet that was Ryan Theriot is good enough. If Starling did nothing else, then.
So Castro's first hit was a homer. His second hit was a triple.
Yeah.
7 total bases in his debut.
Yeah. I wanted to say, I thought Santo, because Santo was in the booth. I remember listening to it. And I thought
this is my Hall of Fame. Oh, wait.
Yes. What is going on? But I looked up Santo. It wasn't similar, although Santo had a pretty impressive debut. In a doubleheader, he went 3 for 7 with a double.
Yeah, I believe we heard about that.
In 5 RBI.
Maybe 11,000 times.
Yes, I know. But
Ronnie, tell us about your big league debut.
Right, and the thing about Ronnie telling you about it, it's all Ronnie piecing together what he's been told by Pat Hughes in the preceding years. It's not even like a first-hand memory. Ronnie couldn't tell you shit about what happened in his career. He would say things like, Pat would gently, be looking up baseball reference, would be basically, politely correcting him. And then, Ron would self-deprecatingly laugh, but he did. Santo had a pretty good debut. I know it was brought up in the context of Castro, not nearly as spectacular. I mean, that's pretty spectacular, obviously. That's like lead story on Sports Center kind of shit.
It's pretty good.
And Starlin, to his credit, was a very above average player for most of his time with the Cubs. So, like other players, we got the best. Like Matt Clement, we got the best years out of him. It's also funny, and I don't remember the sensation so much when we did 2011, but 2011 obviously is the last season in this run that, we're intentionally doing an era that's sort of, pretty much away from us in time. So it's, we can let it breathe a little bit, and, we deliberately aren't, rehashing the Epstein era because it's, probably needs to breathe. But it's funny to come across like James Russell and Jason Hayward and, you get these players that are bumping into like the current, not the current Cubs, but the current game. It's kind of funny when a couple of those pop in.
James Russell was a 2-time Cub.
I know, and he drove me nuts both times. I couldn't stand that guy. I can't even remember why, but I'm sure I had a purely irrational reason for it. Probably just talked too much.
So Starlin finished 5th in Rookie of the Year balloting. Of course, we know who won.
Buster, Jason.
Buster Posey was first. Jason Hayward was second. Jaime Garcia was third.
The Cardinals.
And Gabby Sanchez of the Marlins was fourth. And I don't remember Gabby
Sanchez? You mean Gary Sanchez?
He was a first baseman.
I do not remember Gabby Sanchez.
He was an all-star in 11. Somebody had to be for the Marlins. As a rookie,
he was a rookie.
19 homers, 85 RBIs in 2010. 2011, his second year, 19 homers, 78 RBIs, and then nothing. That was it for Gabby. Played for the Pirates for a while. I don't remember him very much. Cub killer Neil Walker tied with Starlin for 5th.
Okay.
So Starlin hit 300 as a rookie, right on the nose. His second year, he led the National League with 207 hits. And he had 307. And he was then All-Star for the first time. He was All-Star 3 times for the Cubs, and then once for the Yankees in 2017.
Oh.
So the year after. No, 2 years after he left the Cubs.
Yeah, I remember at one point until like recent injuries and more, run-ins with legal issues that he's had, which he somehow sort of skirted when he was with the Cubs.
He skirted the first one. He didn't skirt the last one. That's why he's not.
Correct.
That's why he's not in the big leagues anymore.
And I don't know if that would have been a factor, but I remember at one point thinking he was like this guy that was on this weird sort of workmanlike, consistent trajectory that didn't scream Hall of Famer, but could put him on 3,000 hits. Not going to happen. But it seemed like, I remember thinking like I was kind of rooting for it because it would make him, it'd be controversial. Controversial.
You don't think he can come back and get 1,278 hits?
So he has 1,800 hits.
1,722.
And he probably won't come back, but he came closer to 2,000 than I would have thought a year ago. The guy who wins that award, by the way, is a guy that kind of came up around the time Corey Patterson did, but he's out of baseball now. It's Nick Markakis. Nick Markakis would never be considered a Hall of Famer, but I want to say he finished with close to 2,600 hits or something like that. So basically at one point, and I don't know if that's a thing. There's nobody who's ever had 3,000 hits that is not a Hall of Famer.
Nick Markakis, 2,388 hits.
Oh, 2,400. It is a lot of hits. Not as many as I thought.
In 15 years.
Yeah. So. Right. So it's staying healthy. 33.64, almost close to Harold Baines' 38.8.
Put him in.
Close enough, but no, you can't go below Baines. I already looked it up. There are over 200 ball players with a higher WAR than Baines that are not in the Hall of Fames.
Yeah, Starlin broke him when he was 20, barely 20 years and 44 days old. So he had a chance.
It was exciting. Yeah. That's part of the reason he came up so young.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't play again, he played his last game at 31.
Ow. So. Wow. Yeah, he was still young.
I guess the thing I'll always remember about Starlin was in 2015 when the turning point in the season, right? Right after the Chris Bryant home run that bailed him out of their tailspin. And Joe finally said, all right, that's enough. Starlin, you are not a big league shortstop anymore. And you're going to the bench. Not even going to second, you're going to the bench. And they gave the job to Addison Russell, and then after a couple of days, Starlin, they were going to work him in at second base. And I should have pulled this up while I was setting it up. But
I remember thinking that Russell himself had played so good at second because he was a rookie. And right, Russell was a rookie in 2015, yep. And I remember thinking he was playing Gold Glove caliber second, but it was like, yeah, he was gonna, he was a better shortstop, and that's how it had to be. And you're right, Starlin absolutely plummeted offensively at one point.
On August 6th, against the Giants, Starlin went 0 for 4, and he finished the day hitting .236 with a .271 on base and a .304 slug.
Wow.
He came back 5 days later as a second baseman, and for the rest of the season, the last 47 games, this is what Starlin Castro did. He hit .353 with a .373 on base and a .588 slugging percentage for a .961 OPS, 6 homers and 23 RBIs.
Yeah.
He played really good second base.
Yeah. And he contributed in the postseason. He's part of the ascendancy. He was not on the 2016 team, obviously, but he's a part of that fabric of that story, and very much so, very much of an integral part. And you know who gets as much credit as Starlin Castro for turning it around there in my book? Joe Madden. I think just the way it was handled. I remember thinking Madden, that could have gone sideways. I remember thinking that, like, whatever psychological tricks or whatever were up his sleeve, that to get that kind of production out of Cash, to move him off of shortstop, but not bury him, and then still get something out of him. That was like another mark in Madden's plus ledger back then.
So yeah, I in my mind, I don't think I remember that he sat for 5 days. Well, they basically said, "All right, here, learn how to play second base." It's not that much different, but it's different. He got traded in that offseason for Adam Warren.
Yep.
And a player named later who turned out to be former creepy Cardinal utility guy, Brendan Ryan. And then Adam Warren ended up going back to the Yankees.
Yep.
In a little trade for Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, I remember Adam Warren's name popped into my head the other day. Remember when we were excited about Adam Warren? He had such good peripherals for the Yankees. He'd be a good swing starter, long guy out of the bullpen, just supplement him, and he just sucked.
And then Starlin got traded one more time in his career. For one of my all-time favorite players. He got traded with Jose Devers and Jorge Guzman to the Marlins for Giancarlo Stanton. And the reason Giancarlo Stanton is one of my all-time favorite players is he blocked not one, but 2 trades that offseason to the Cardinals. The Cardinals worked out a trade, and he said, "I'm not going there." No. And they worked out another trade and offered him a shitload of money, and he said, "You didn't hear me the first time. No, I'm not going to your podunk fucking town. Trade me to the Yankees." And they did. Always respect the Mike Stanton.
Mike Giancarlo Stanton. So yeah, that's where it all began for our guy Starlin there on that warm summer night for a 14-15 or 13-16 Cubs team. There were some pieces there that were like, Aramis was getting old. Bird was a stopgap. Fukudomi I turned off on him from 2008, but yeah, and it really took a lot of convincing to believe in Colvin. You're right. I mean, just because he was a first-round pick, that was a light pick.
Well, the prospect perverts liked him.
Yeah, I was okay with him too.
The 2010 version of prospect perverts.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I didn't know Bobby Scales was on the 2010 Cubs.
Yeah, it was Bobby Scales 1.0, his first time around. Back before he was the substitute teacher.
to the tune of an 858 OPS in 20 plate appearances.
Oh, I guess it was his second year. This was his second year. He came back, right, but didn't make it out of Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, he was already 32 then, I believe, making his debut. Although he may have made his debut in
Bobby
09.
couldn't take a hint. This is Bobby's transaction page. I'm not even going to start. This is he started with the Padres. He got drafted by the Padres, and he played in their organization for 6 years, and then he got granted free agency, and they signed with the Phillies, and then he got traded to the Orioles, and then at the end of that season, he got granted free agency, and then he signed with the Red Sox, and at the end of that season, he got free agency, and this is great. So this is his...
Signed, granted.
Here's his transaction history from 2007 until 2012. See if you can detect a theme here. Signed as a free agent with the Cubs. Granted free agency. A year later, signed as a free agent with the Cubs. Granted free agency. A year later, signed as a free agent with the Cubs. Granted free agency. A year later, signed as a free agent with the Cubs. Released by the Cubs. Signed as a free agent with the Cubs. Released by the Cubs. It's like, Bobby, try a different organization.
Right.
He's like, nobody else is offering me anything, just the Cubs.
Did you not enjoy teaching? Is there... He never got traded. I mean, the guy was in the big leagues big league organizations for 13 years.
Well, he got traded once, but it was, it doesn't even say that. It says sent to the Orioles by the Phillies as part of
a conditional deal.
He didn't get anything back, so he couldn't call it a trade.
Had to wash what was it, Pat Giles's bathroom.
It was like in soccer. He was loaned. They loaned him to the Orioles, and then the Phillies were like, we don't want him back.
He must have been like the nicest guy ever, and they're just like, oh shit. You might as well sign Bobby. He just got suckered into this apartment for 18 months. I don't know.
He bought a house in Des Moines.
That's what happened with the Cubs.
He bought a trailer.
Somehow he got
paid up. I got locked into the deal at the very start.
He got into his mind to buy some riverfront property in Davenport and in 06, and then was able to sort of convince the Cubs to let him sort of hang on with his minor league employment, because that's it. He was with the organization, so he must have been with Iowa in 07, and
he's got to be like, is he the Iowa Cubs all-time hit leader, do we think?
Could be, yeah. So he made his debut in 09, and then he actually played more in 09 than he did in 10. 10, much like with Derek Lee, Cub legends Derek Lee and Lou Piniella, 2010 would be the last season in which Bobby Scales would wear the blue pinstripes.
Bobby Scales played 10 years at AAA. 10 seasons at AAA. Hit .289 with a .388 on base and a .453 slugging percentage. 816 hits. And most of those AAA, almost all actually of those games are... Oh, no, I take it back. Because he played in Pawtucket. That was AAA.
Yep.
Most of them with the Cubs, but he's got some in there in the Red Sox and Phillies organizations. But
yeah,
that's a lot of seasons at AAA.
That's a lot of familiarity with the state of Iowa, especially for a guy who apparently went to Michigan. But that's what I don't get. According to he went to the University of Michigan. I mean, even if he didn't graduate, I mean, maybe he was a scholarship player, but baseball is not a big scholarship sport. He was teaching school, so right, this guy's probably not a dumb guy. Like, really, you're just gonna live in Des Moines I mean, he's chasing a dream. Maybe I shouldn't belittle it, but God, you hear stories now about what the wages for minor league players are. I mean, Bobby only got a taste of that big league salary twice. Hope he was able to sack a lot of it away. But when the guy finally hangs it up, unless he got a job,
he only got 10 games worth in 2010.
Yeah, no full pension. He's 32. So let's assume he goes to Michigan, 14 years earlier in 1996, and like his friends at 32 are all like, finally making some money, and then Bobby's unless he got himself a job in baseball, which even then, right, you hook up as a lifer, you're not making a lot of money early on till you can make a name for yourself. So, here's to a guy chasing his dream, but there's also that reality that you wonder about.
Well, he's 44.
Now he is.
So he went to Michigan with Tom Brady. you think maybe, he's like, is he part of the Brady entourage?
Or just this deluded belief that he can still play till he's 40, even though...
I'm going to play till Tom retires.
Well, I hope he's not still trying to make it. That would be pathetic.
Let's see. Where did he finished up in Japan, I believe.
Okay. Well, he probably should have done that earlier in his career, right? Like, I feel like Japan, if you can adapt to the culture, if you're a 4A player, which is what he clearly was, just couldn't get a break in the big leagues.
Yeah, he finished up he played in 2011. He was a Nippon Ham fighter. And in 2012, he was a Oryx Buffalo.
Okay.
And that appears to be the end of Bobby Scales.
All right.
Bobby played in Idaho Falls, Fort Wayne, Lake Elsinore, Mobile, Portland, Oregon, not Maine. Boy, a lot. Scranton, Wilkes. Is it Barry? Is that how they say it out there? Or Pawtucket, and Iowa, Hermosillo in the Mexican League.
Oh, that's nice.
The Cubs. Then the Buffalo. This is confusing. In 2012, he played AAA for the Mets in Buffalo, and then he also played for the Oryx Buffalo in Japan. That's probably where I got the idea. Called his agent and says, "Is there another Buffalo I could play for?" He says, "Yeah, I'll send you to Japan. You can go play there."
I'm just thinking of all those bus miles across just, especially at the lower level. I mean, no minor league teams fly, right? Some might. I don't know. You would know. You're a heavy hitter at in the Midwest League. Those guys certainly took buses.
Oh, yeah. There's not a plane to be found.
Nobody flies.
League. No. I'm surprised they didn't make the guys like really, how far is it from Appleton to Beloit? Could you guys
right?
How about we could rent some bikes? It'd be scenic.
Well, cheers to Bobby Scales. He made it for his cup of coffee. He's probably all right. Maybe
Bobby
he comes
Scales
from money.
Is
from Southfield, Michigan. That's a decent suburb.
He is currently the vice president of baseball at Sports Information Solutions in Atlanta.
Okay, I'm sure. Yeah.
He's also the founder and CEO of the Scales Sports Group. He did work after he finished up his big league career. He worked for the Pirates in player development, for the Angels as special assistant to the general manager. He is a graduate of the University of Michigan. He graduated in 1999 with his BA in sports management and communication. So Bobby knows some shit.
Bobby's fine. He's got a BA. All right. Yeah. Good. I feel I can sleep tonight.
Yep.
Knowing that Bobby Scales isn't like at the Ohio Street exit, with a sign saying we'll pinch hit for food. Because that's what he's listed on Baseball Reference. Left fielder, pinch hitter, third baseman. And pinch hitter is not a position, guys.
I don't think. It's interesting. I guess it must not be based on proficiency, but simply on the amount, I guess, of your playing time as a pinch hitter. Let's see.
Maybe.
Find his career pinch hitting stats.
All at the Cubs. Nobody else gave him a shot.
Nope.
And he is a .1 WAR. There are players with negative WAR. He's got that 1/10 of a WAR that he can hang his head on.
Yeah, as a starter in the big leagues,
91.
He hit .227, .339 on base, and a .318 slug. But how about this? As a substitute, so this would be pinch hitting plus if he stayed in. In 28 games as a non-starter in the big leagues, Bobby Scales hit .333 with a .357 on base and a .741 slugging percentage.
Guy's a regular Thad Bosley.
Yeah, he's got a little Richie Hebner in him.
Yeah. Dave Clark. They're great pinch hitters of lore.
Henry Cotto.
I don't know. Henry's more. I think of more of as a defensive.
Gary Varsho.
Yeah, but more at the Pirates and the Cubs.
Oh, Lenny Harris.
Lenny Harris, yeah.
Lenny, the greatest of all time. Just ask Dusty.
Dave Hansen.
Lenny is the most pinch hits, right? In big league history.
In Major League Baseball history?
That's going to be a tough record to ever break now with the DH.
Yeah, it will.
A whole lot of pinch hitting.
I thought Manny Mota had the record at one point. Manny Mota, of course, famous for...
Mota.
Right. His reference in Airplane.
Did. Manny Mota. So the top 4 in baseball history. Lenny F. Harris.
Wow.
You can guess what the F is for.
Yeah, of course. We've talked.
Mark Sweeney. Lenny, 212. Mark Sweeney, 175. Lenny's lapping the field. And then Manny Mota with 150. So Manny had the record for a long time.
Lenny Harris will totally die as the all-time leading pinch hitter.
Manny Mota, he surpassed Smokey Burgess, 145.
Wow.
Smokey's 4th of all time.
So that's an interesting category that hasn't really been affected by anything in the last. You know what I mean? Like Lenny Harris is the only guy to crack that top 4. It's
all right, so of the top 21 pinch hitters of all time, everywhere from Lenny Harris to Vic Davali. Oh, I can't say
Vic Davila. Yeah,
Vic
the
Davila,
Dodgers.
D-A-V-A-I-L-L-O.
Yeah. By the way, would Mike Lum happen to be on that list?
Mike Lum is.
Former Cub.
Mike Lum.
We forgot to.
So
we
former Cubs on this list. Lenny Harris, number 1.
Richie Hebner and Mike Lum. All
right. Dave Hansen, number 6.
Yeah, called it.
Did Orlando Palmeiro never played for the Cubs, did he? Or did I feel like he did? No.
I don't think he did. No.
Matt Stairs, 105.
Wow.
Mike Lum, 103. Dave Clark, 96.
Wow. All right. I'm glad I just threw out Dave Clark and Dave Hansen. They were on some shitty ass teams, which I guess would stand to reason, right? Like there's no like maxim that says, well, if you're a pinch hitter on a good team, you get more opportunities. Probably not. I think being a pinch hitter on a bad team probably gives you more opportunities. Hence Dave Clark and Dave Hansen.
Well,
and Mike Lum. Well, Mike Lum was only a Cub for a year. He got most of those to the Reds.
So Lenny not only has the most pinch hits, this goes, you kind of figure he has the most pinch hit at bats, 804. Matt Stairs has the most pinch hit home runs with 23. And then this is the oddest stat I've ever heard in my life. What do you most remember Brooks Conrad for? Do you remember Brooks Conrad, backup second baseman for the Braves? Made horrible errors in a playoff series.
I don't know that name.
Ball kept finding Brooks.
That somebody nicknamed him Connie. Who's Brooks Conrad? Why don't I know that name?
He played for the Astros, A's, Braves, Brewers, Rays, Padres, and Mets.
I got a blind spot. For what team did he fuck up? When I think of like hilarious playoff gaps, I think of Daniel Murphy.
In Game 3 of the 2010 NLDS, Brooks Conrad made 3 errors in a loss to the Giants, who would eventually go on to win the World Series. His second error in the second inning led in a Giants run. His third error was far more important. After former Cub farmhand Eric Hinsky hit a 2-run 8th inning pinch hit home run to put the Braves ahead by 1. Conrad let a ball go between his legs in the top of the 9th. The error allowed the game-winning run to score. Giants took a 2-1 series lead, and Conrad's 3 errors tied a division series record. Well, congratulations. He made their Hall of Fame. But how about this? Brooks Conrad is on the list of the all-time pinch hit records. This is most pinch hit game-winning grand slams.
2?
Brooks Conrad, 2. He hit them both in the same season. He hit them both in 2010. And they don't say who hit the other one, but the most pinch hit grand slams by one team in a season was those 2010 Braves. They had 3.
Wow. The same 2010 Braves who clubbed the Cubs 16-5 to kick off the season. How about that? That's crazy.
There are
also. Think of how many more pinch hit plate appearances Lenny Harris would have had Dusty Baker not started him at third for 6 weeks. Sorry, I didn't mean to trigger you.
Yeah. How about this? This seems ridiculous. In Major League Baseball history, there have been 19 players who were called into a game and hit a pinch hit home run in their first at-bat. First career at-bat.
Are there any recent Cubs?
Let's see.
Pinch hit a rookie. Oh, how about who's the guy for Tampa Bay? Kevin Kiermaier? No. No. Who was the Tampa Bay Ray that was there a Tampa Bay Ray that hit a grand slam in his first major league at bat?
If he did, he wasn't pinch hitting apparently.
No
one ever did it as a Cub. I'm trying to see if I can find any old Cubs on this list. former White Sox manager Chuck Tanner.
Yes, I knew that.
He did it.
I knew that.
For the Milwaukee Braves.
Wally Moon on that list, or
Jeremy Hermida of the Marlins did it.
Okay.
The last player to do it was a guy named John Hester for the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
Very strange.
Those are pinch hitters.
Yeah, their first career at bat was a pinch hit, and they hit a home run. Talk about a set of specifics.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Chris Morrell was not a pinch hitter this year, but he did that. Is he joining that club? Was he because that was a pretty interesting thing. I was watching it. I don't watch a lot of Cubs at all, and it was a meaningless game.
I wonder, maybe could it be that they just haven't updated this?
Maybe because it was a 3. Do you remember his at bat this year? It was a 3-2 count, and I think he fouled off some ball, and the crowd got into it. It was an otherwise sleepy.
Was Wilson's? Or did he come in as a defensive sub?
He may have come in.
Now we got to look. Now we got to look all kinds of stuff up here.
I don't. But yeah. Well, just Wilson and Morrell. Morrell himself may have come in for defense. Now that I think about it, but it was his first major league. It wouldn't matter. No, it would matter because we're talking specifically the role.
No, Christopher Morrell was a pinch hitter. Christopher Morrell pinch hits for Patrick Wisdom, so we got to add him to the list. I have to add that to the Wikipedia page.
Update it. Use your credentials.
So I would guess he's the most recent person to ever do it. He just did.
Well,
it
doesn't seem to happen.
Somebody probably did it last night. And now we got to look up
Wilson,
future former Cub Wilson Contreras, and his first ever game because he came in the 9th inning. I would guess he's going to be on this. They haven't updated that page in a while, I guess.
I think it's entirely possible that Wilson came in to play catcher in the inning before, is what I'm guessing. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. It's Wikipedia, so that can just sort of lay fallow and not update it.
I guess I'm going to have to get on it and update it.
Well, certainly give Morrell love because he's one of the few things that I really enjoy watching about this team.
Well, now you got Say's back, and you got Nelson Velasquez. And, the Cubs are so much fun.
I do like Velasquez. By the way, don't look up the 2016 Cubs on Baseball Reference because they list everybody according to WAR, and very few of them have Cubs hats on. They got Arrieta and a Padres hat because I guess they use the most recent.
I'm going to guess Wilson does not qualify because in the box score, he is listed simply as catcher. They would have put pinch catcher.
They would have put PH, catcher had he come in. Okay. Well, finally, so Chris Morrell is the first Cub in history to homer as a pinch in his first at bat.
No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Because that was a game in. Okay, this is tricky. He played on June 17th, but all he did was catch the 9th inning. Then his June 19th, that's when he got his first at bat, and
he is listed as
a pinch
hitter.
So Wilson Contreras also on the list.
Holy shit!
Wikipedia's got some shit to update.
Well, and you brought it up earlier that we talked about just home runs in their first at bat.
Yeah, like Jim Bullinger.
Your teammate.
You broke up there for a second.
Yeah, but we brought it up in the context of Jason Hayward. But that's why we brought it up. But now it comes full circle when we go down the rabbit hole and find, it's an extremely obscure fact about pinch hitters and home runs. So Wilson Morrell.
So I'm trying to find here. It requires math, which I don't like. I want to find Lou's last game. Because Lou announced, we knew Lou was leaving. Right? Lou came out and
he was kind of blubbery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he managed his last game. Like he didn't come in the interview room and go, "Fuck it, I'm done." He said,
you're right.
He said, "Fuck it, I'm done" before the game, and then managed more.
That's a rarity in and of itself, right? Like just that whole spectacle, mid-season, but still have the opportunity to wave goodbye to the crowd, right? Is that who gets afforded that indulgence? Which I'm fine with because, even though they didn't win a goddamn playoff game, I think you and I are in agreement.
Well, and the Cubs rallied.
We like Lou.
Because they were so inspired they want to send Lou out a winner. Remember, opening day, they lost 15-6 to the Braves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here they were, on Sunday, August 22nd. Their manager has announced he's leaving. He's going to Tampa to take care of Mom because she's on her deathbed and she would live like for 4 more years.
Right.
He may have exaggerated her illness. And the Cubs came out and they lost to the Braves 16-5.
Wow.
Jason Hayward went 4 for 4.
Oh my God.
Jeez, of course he did. Drove in 4 runs. Boy, I think he did. No wonder he hasn't been worth a shit since he got to the Cubs because he did all of his damage against the Cubs.
Facing the 2010 Cubs.
He's basically the 21st century version of Jeff Blauser.
Could be.
He's just taking the money and running. I mean, we know they signed him because he hit an opposite field home run against him in the playoffs. And they're like, imagine how many of those he'd hit. Yeah, that one. That's how many he'd hit. One. The one you just saw.
Remember, too, how, it's funny, like how you, when he was traded by Atlanta because he was approaching free agency. And everybody, it's funny that he was traded. Do you remember who he was traded for?
Jason Hayward was traded for. Oh yeah, Shelby Miller.
Yeah, remember that? And it was like, I'm not really sure. Like both of them, nobody gives a shit about. Shelby Miller's out of baseball because he went to the Braves and like couldn't win for like 3 months.
Yeah,
it was even when he pitched well. But I remember thinking like, people were thinking, the Cardinals are so brilliant because Shelby Miller really is a castle made of sand. People still thought Jason Hayward was really good. I know you point out correctly so, and they're the guys that are paid to do it. That Epstein, overrated him and paid for future performance, which was not his thing.
Yeah, his track record was heading in the wrong direction. And he did have a good year. He had a good year for the Cardinals.
Bounce back, I guess.
How about this? Shelby Miller's one season. They were both going to be free agents. So it was basically a challenge trade. Shelby Miller, in his only season with the Braves, was an all-star. He was 6-17 with a 3.02 ERA.
Wow.
He only allowed 183 hits in 205 innings, struck out 171. And he was also, for the only time in his career, he led the league in losses. And it's like, that's hard luck. So then the Diamondbacks are like, come on, we know this guy's good.
Right.
We'll sign him. And the next year,
so he still got paid.
Next year with the Diamondbacks, Shelby Miller was 3-12.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's interesting. He basically
he did pitch last year, 10 games.
Yeah, I was going to say he was still around. Okay, well, it's funny. Well, it's funny then that Shelby Miller and Jason Hayward are both crawling to 2021, and at the time it was like two top players being traded for each other.
The Diamondbacks got off a lot cheaper than the Cubs did.
Yeah.
They gave him looks like a 4-year deal for about $18 million.
Oh, man.
Cubs signed Jason Hayward for 6 years, $184 million. And Shelby did just about as much for the Diamondbacks as Jason. He never gave a locker room speech, though.
Did not.
Oh, I noticed this.
You said 6 years. You said 6 years, but I believe, wasn't it 7 actually? I believe it was 7 years.
Too many. Yeah, that's
7, 136.
Yeah, because that's next year. Wow. So, Baseball Reference says the similarity scores. Who do you think Starlin Castro's most similar batter is? It's also a former Cub shortstop.
Middle infielder? Same era or different era?
Well, different era. Maybe my favorite player of all time.
Dunston?
Sean Dunston, number 1.
No way.
Yep. Sean
Did that actually make
the other guys on the list? Which Alex? It could be. Is this which Alex Gonzalez is this? Nope, it's Seabass, the one from the Marlins, not our old Alex Gonzalez. When you go by age, his rookie season, the most similar player by age was Gary Templeton.
Wow.
And Jim Fregosi shows up on this list a lot. So does Xander Bogaerts. I mean, he could hit.
Yeah.
Starlin could hit. But I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Well, certainly not now.
His Black Ink average Hall of Famer is 27, and Starlin is 8. I don't think he's going to make it.
Okay. Yeah. Even when you start off as hot as you, I mean, it takes such a unique combination to put together a Hall of Fame career. So many things have to go right. So
Lou leaves, probably because he looked at his lineup card and he's like, let's see, I'm writing in Jeff Baker in right field today, and Xavier Nady is playing first base because we've already traded.
First Xavier Nady reference as a Cub here.
We've already traded Derek Lee. Fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Randy Wells started, and things didn't go well for Randy.
Who did we get for
Derek? He pitched 6 innings, gave up 7 runs.
Who did we get for Derek Lee? Obviously we dumped him.
He went to the Braves, right? Or did he go to the? Did he go to the Pirates or the Braves?
Right.
Yeah, they're in the Braves. Then he ended up with the Pirates.
Oh, he went to the Pirates the next year. Okay.
Yeah, he got traded.
Kind of a quiet end of like a really solid, obvious career. Really solid career with the Cubs. Probably the best right-handed first baseman we had ever seen play for the Cubs. Trade was
until Frank Schwindel.
Correct. Tyrell Harris. That's Ty capital R.
Oh, if you can get a guy with an apostrophe, you have to do it.
Right after 2 letters. Robinson, Lopez, and Jefferson. So 3 pieces of crap that never even amounted.
Good job. They got just about as much for him as they did for Ramos, which was nothing.
Yeah. He had one of the greatest individual seasons any of us will witness, and I guess it was 2005. And and then Ramos would be soon to follow, and then Soriano, and like I said, things just plunged even more. But it had to at that point. And I think by the time it hit rock bottom after the next season, 2011, most sane fans were in favor of a complete rebuild, which is what we got. Finally worked out for once.
So Lou leaves. The Cubs are 51-74, and they give the job on an interim basis to the hairless wonder, Mike Quade, the third base coach. And the Cubs in the last 37 games go 24-13.
Inspired.
And guys like Ryan Dempster went to his buddy Tom Ricketts, and he said that's the guy we need, Mike Quade. He's Mr. Positive. We love him. We love playing for him. It's going to be great. Sign him. The Cubs did. And the rest is history. Mike Quade, in his one full season with the Cubs, 71-91. And
the rest is history repeating itself because, again, it was reminiscent of Joey Malfitano, right, who I've mentioned before, was the perennial or seemed perennial interim manager to ride out the season when Herman Franks walks away. All right, have Joey come down. Next year, hire Preston Gomez. Fire him. Have Joey come down. It was a little bit different circumstance because this was ownership on their way out rather than on the way in. Ownership on their way out, the Wrigley's were like, fuck it, we're checked out. Let's just run Joey out there again. It was kind of a similar thing, although you give some context to the fact that shitheads like Dempster lobbied for him, but it kind of almost felt like the same thing. Like, all right, let's roll it out there again. He was an interim manager, and then they gave him the keys for a full season, and the results, were predictable.
Mike Quade was the first ever manager of the Rockford Expos.
Ooh.
He went 74-59 in the Expos' first year when their best player, 1989, when their best player was a scrappy, I think it was that year. I better look this up. I believe the best player was a scrappy little guy.
Delano de Shields? No.
Oh, it must have been the next year they got Delano de Shields. He was, I guess so it looks like the best player on his, let's go full circle. Best player on the 1989 Rockford Expos, Matt Stairs.
Wow.
How about that?
Andy, by chance, did you happen to witness any Rockford Expos games in 1989?
They played at Marinelli Field, which is best known for, it was the original home of the Rockford Peaches. Before it was called Bayer Stadium at the time. And now there's like there's this whole thing in Rockford now about they want to have a women's baseball museum and Hall of Fame. Because Rockford, thanks to the movie, Rockford is
it's very well celebrated as a very pivotal
But there's a big argument about whether the museum should be at the stadium site or if it should be across the street. And I don't know why anybody gives a shit, but they are constantly fighting over that. Now, just this last weekend, because July 1st was the 30th anniversary of A League of Their Own. The movie. They had a star-studded celebrity softball game to celebrate it.
Was Gina Davis there?
Everybody came out. Gina Davis was there, Madonna came, and Tom Hanks was there. No, actually, the only former Peach that was there was the girl that played. Why can't I think of her name? I just read a story about her. She played Marla Gooch, I believe I say her name. Remember in the movie the famous scene where John Lovitz already has Gina Davis and her sister, and they have to stop and see a player. And they go into this high school gym, and there is this girl just ripping balls around the gym. And she's hitting off either like college players, college men. Right. And she's lighting them up. And her dad is very proudly standing back there, and then he goes, okay, switch sides. And then she gets in the right, and all the guys are like, oh, she gets the right-handed batter back, so just crushing balls even more.
That's right.
That lady, this is bad that I can't remember. Let's see. The actual actress is Marla Cavanaugh. She's from Chicago. And she played Marla Hooch, not Gooch, in the movie. She came back for it. And she actually, there's an article about her in The Athletic. One of the guys interviewed her at a batting cage because she was getting ready. Because she really can hit.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
the actress
can really hit. And there's a funny story about when they got ready to do that scene where she's hitting balls all over the gym, breaking the windows out and all kinds of stuff. Penny Marshall, they film it, they get ready, they get up to that part, and then she tells her, okay, put the stunt double in. And the actress gets all pissed off, and she's like, I can do this. Let me do it. And Penny's like, all right, fine, you can, but if you miss, as soon as you miss, you're out.
Right.
And they said that you watch that scene, that's just her. She went through that whole round, just smacking balls everywhere.
No shit, good for her.
And Penny at the end of it basically said they didn't even need to bother with the double. They just used hers. So
that's a pretty cool story. Yeah. So you're saying a 16-year-old Andy Dolan, though, maybe on a random trip to see the Montreal Expos, could have crossed paths not only with future Cub manager Mike Quade, but future Cub first baseman Matt Stairs. Is that accurate? Back in the
I don't know if it was that year. I went when they were playing the I guess it was probably the 89. I guess they were the Peoria Chiefs. Damon Berryhill.
Pete Von Auken's team?
Yeah. Damon Berryhill was there on a rehab assignment. I went to see Damon Berryhill play.
So you'd go see the Chiefs because the Chiefs were in town. You'd probably make an effort to see them because those were future Cubs.
Yes. And there's another famous. I've looked for this clip and I can't find it. There was a sports guy in Rockford by the name of Kim Lepak. And he made all kinds of like blooper shows. Remember back in the days before YouTube, you had to watch bloopers shows.
Oh, I remember. Ed McMahon and Dick Clark coming around the corner.
Kim Lepak is interviewing Delino DeShields on the field during batting practice. While he's asking Delino a question, the guy taking batting practice hits one, and it was ball 3 on Kim Lepak.
Ooh.
Hit him right in the balls while he was asking a question. And Delino thought it was very funny.
Perhaps reporters should wear cups when they're walking the field.
So that's my Rockford Expo.
Did the Cubs not have a Rockford affiliation briefly?
They were the Rockford Expos. Then they became the Rockford Reds for a time, and then they were the Rockford Cubbies.
Yeah,
but they were going to build a new stadium, and there was all this stuff, and they didn't.
Is that what like the South Bend Cubs is would have been like that? Their Cubs Midwest League representative then, right? That wasn't that long ago, right? That's like in the last 20 years. Like they're prospects that we've seen.
Yeah, it was them in the 90s when they were the Rockford Cubbies.
Okay, all right, Cubbies. Jesus Christ,
they deserve to lose the team. They call them the Cubbies.
I agree.
Yeah, there was this whole sordid thing about Rockford is so close to Beloit, 11 miles away.
Oh, that's right.
That the Beloit Brewers, before they changed the Snappers, had to give special permission for Rockford to have a team. They basically had to waive their territorial rights. And famously, consortium that owned the Brewers told the Rockford thing, so we'll do this, but if you ever lose this team, we will never do this again. You'll never get a team back. And when they lost I think it went Cubbies, and then they couldn't build a new stadium, so that's when they took off for I don't know where, South Bend maybe.
Somewhere in between.
That was it for affiliated baseball in Rockford.
They cannot. All right, so the park's
their only hope was that the Snappers would get the axe when they trimmed all the team, and they didn't.
Oh, right.
So now Rockford's screwed.
Wow.
So
that's too bad.
Got the Ice Hogs instead.
That's all right. They're a Hawks affiliate, so
owned by the Hawks.
Right. I mean, that would be neat. Not that I ever took advantage back then to go see maybe a time.
There's no need. I mean, we can just go to Beloit.
Yeah, but all right. When South Bend goes to Beloit, you're right. That's not that far from Chicago. So, I mean, there's Kane County too. Are they still affiliated? Is Kane County still affiliated?
Oh, I would think so.
Okay.
Kane County used to always. That's a boy. We're getting into all kinds of stuff, but they. So in 2000, might as well. What the hell? I've told enough Beloit Snapper stories. I could tell one more. In 2003, the Snappers played a game against, I think it was against the Timber Rattlers, at County Stadium, which was a big deal because all the Class A kids got to play, or not County Stadium, at Miller Park, and they got to go play at Miller Park, and we all got to go and do our jobs that we'd normally do at beautiful Telfer Park. We got to do at Miller Park instead. And they set the Midwest League attendance record. It was like 15,000 people.
Okay.
The very next day, the Cougars broke the record. And everybody knew it was bullshit. They turned in an attendance that was like 3 people more than the Snappers had at Miller Park. Because in theory, if they filled the berms and stuff, they actually could have that many people. But nobody actually believed it. So.
By the way, the Kane County Cougars are an independent professional baseball team located in Geneva, Illinois.
So they're out of the Midwest League.
Yeah, members of the American Association of Professional Baseball. They are an official partner league of Major League Baseball. I don't know what that means. They're unaffiliated, but somehow they're under the auspices. So, and baseball in Kane County only goes back to 1991. But they were successful there for a while. I think Kane County was when that proved you can have minor league baseball. People will go see it. There's 6 million people in the Chicagoland area. It's not like we're all snobs and, are only professional sports fans. And since then, there's a team, Joliet. I don't know how successful. There's a team in Schaumburg. They got a nice little park out there, largely independent, but
let's see.
And I think it's appropriate we spend this much time talking minor league baseball.
When you're talking about the 2010 Cubs, it's the same.
Exactly. Right.
All right. I suppose we got to wrap up by taking a quick tour of the roster and see there's a lot of bums on this team.
Who the Cubs drafted 2010, dude? Would you know offhand, by the way? I just thought of that. Usually we go over that. And usually I used to be pretty good about draft picks, but even then I was fading out.
Let's see. 10?
Because I know, Vitters was 07. And then
so that was the last. No, second to last.
Oh, was it
Hendry?
It was Javi. Yeah, it would have been Javi otherwise. Got it.
Javi would have been the next year. Was it Brett Jackson?
It could have been. I think he nailed it. Nice call. All right, we got the Brett Jackson.
I don't know if it's right though.
No, I'll look it up while you start scouring that roster for one last.
Oh God!
That's the Bryce Harper draft.
It's worse. It's the next best. Well, Bryce Harper was the consensus number.
Oh, I see it now.
The Cubs picking. Let's see, where were they picking? Picking 16th made easily the next best pick. Because when you get a chance to draft a pitcher from an obscure college who has mononucleosis, you do it. They drafted Hayden Simpson.
Yeah,
Hendry should have been fired on the spot just for that.
And easy to second guess, but notables drafted after Hayden Simpson. Mike Fultonevich at least had a major league career. Christian Yelich, Noah Syndergaard, who went in the 38th pick, supplemental in the first round. Taiwan Walker, Nick Castellanos. Mike Alt in his one eye. And, now you're getting into diamonds in the rough. Like Jimmy Nelson was, still second round. Drew Smiley. So now we're seeing guys that are in the big leagues today, which is funny.
Yeah.
We've bridged it. Tony Walters, one of the worst hitters ever.
Great.
Cubs had knocked him out of the playoffs in 2009.
And then he went, and then even worse, he played for the Cubs.
Yes. JT Real Muto later on. Eddie Rosario. So, yeah. All those players drafted. Justin Grimm, Cubs World Series hero.
Just 3 picks before the Cubs picked, the White Sox took Chris Sale.
Yeah. Hendry was checked out. Wait, Hendry, what did we determine? Hendry,
he did the 11. He knew he was fired in 11. So he ran the draft.
And he was forced out before the end of the 11th season. Okay.
And then later, sometime after the draft, they announced that he would not be back. And then the Cubs, the Ricketts did their one.
And they did nothing. They did nothing really other than have Theo crash through a glass ceiling into their lap.
I joked about it when I had Greenberg on the pod. I said, their idea was we need a guy like Theo Epstein, and they're like, oh, he can't think of any. Why don't we just hire Theo Epstein? And then they did.
Right.
And then they won a World Series.
And it's because he found their lap. It's not like they had to sweet talk him. Then it's not like they had
could you imagine if they just had to
pry him away from?
If they had to just actually, we probably have the guy now they would have gotten. Probably would have worked the deal and gotten Judd from the Padres instead.
Feel like so. Thank God for, like I said at the beginning. Thank God for small miracles. In spite of themselves, that one worked out. And even then, we can go into how it, was ultimately I can't say it was unsatisfying, but it wasn't quite as awesome as we hoped at the time, but I'll leave it at that. We got what we wanted, luckily, because Theo fell into their lap. Yeah. But this was the darkness before the dawn here, pretty much. The 2010 and 2011 Cubs.
It's funny because you think, all right, so 2010, was that one of the last years of Alfonso Soriano? Soriano played with the Cubs until he got traded during the 13 season.
What?
Yep.
He got traded for Corey Black. That's like the hate. Oh, yeah. That's like the Hayward con. That's why Hayward's still with it. Not that Soriano's production was nearly as uneven as Hayward's, but that still sounds crazy that Alfie was on the team into the Theo era.
Let's see. Coy Hill still hanging around. He stuck around 2 years after that, too.
We determined that Coy dates back to 07.
Yeah, and it goes all the way to 12.
Yeah, he was a cockroach for sure. Bad penny.
Red-headed Chad Tracy played for the 2010 Cubs.
Oh, the old Arizona Diamondbacks first base prospect, one-time prospect.
Let's see.
Before Connor Jackson.
Ryan Dempster won 15 games for the Cubs. Probably won all of them for Quade.
Yeah, his guy. Because he gave the hockey nicknames, because he was like a borderline Canadian, I guess.
I remember when Carlos retired.
Well, the next year, we covered it briefly, although we might not have realized it at the time, but Carlos would repeat a blow-up in Atlanta mid-season the following year, and that was when he threw his last pitch, when he he got lit up, and then he just threw in a Chipper Jones, walked off the mound, and never pitched for the Cubs again, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But
didn't always have the best time in Atlanta. But we still had Carlos Marmol.
We had Carlos Silva, who won 10 games.
Yeah. Did he win 10?
Yeah, 10.
I just remember that, what a disaster the Milton Bradley year was in 2009, and that getting anything for him seemed like a miracle. And then Silva won his first 4 games of the 2010 season. So we started thinking, wow, we really made out. And then, but still, 10 games.
Carlos Silva was 8-0 at one point. 8-0 with a 2.93 ERA, and then he would finish 10-6.
Not a bad season, though, honestly.
No, and he was only on the team because his salary was close to Milton Bradley's.
Right.
Here, you want the guy we don't want? Sure, we'll take the guy you don't want. Carlos never killed anybody, as far as we know.
Right. Would this have been Ted Lilly's last season as the Cubs? I see him listed as one of the regular starters.
Yeah, he only won 3 games. This year he got traded to the Dodgers.
I always liked Ted.
Oh, yeah, for Joyce DeWitt's son, Blake.
Oh, yeah. Oleg Cooperman's favorite player.
Ted Theodore Roosevelt Lilly and Ryan Theriot to the Dodgers for Kyle Smith, Brett Wallach, and Blake DeWitt.
Oh, what are your favorite objects of mocking? Was the 3'9" Casey Coleman was on the 2010 Cubs, whose father, I believe, pitched for the Cubs as well. Bob Howery. Oh, Jeff Stevens. He's one of those guys that was in one of those DeRosa trades. So, at least the guy, at least he made it up. He was part of the deal that. I'm sorry. Traded by the Indians with Chris Archer and John Gaub to the Cubs for Mark DeRosa.
So yeah, Casey Coleman's dad Joe pitched for the Cubs, and his grandfather Joe also pitched in the big leagues, but not for the Cubs.
Okay.
Let's see.
So he's one of those triple generations like the Boones.
Yeah. Did you mention Thomas Diamond?
I did not,
Yeah,
but
well,
I would have forgotten about him.
Yeah. Remember the Scott Maine?
Yeah.
Brian Schlitter made his big league debut. For
left-hander.
I think he's right-hander. Yeah, big. He looked like.
Is he right-hander?
Yeah, I always said he looked like it should be a roadie for Foghat.
Right.
He had a great first season. 0-1 with a 12.38 ERA. He was somewhat useful for the 2014 Cubs.
I thought that's the thing. I didn't want to say because I thought I'd sound like a
pitched in 61
idiot.
games, and he was 2-3 with a 4.15 ERA.
So in some small way, he would reappear as part of the ascension. I guess
pitched in 2019 for the A's. Came back, got his way back to the big leagues.
But yeah, he did pitch on the 2015 Cubs. So
he was in the Mariners organization last year. Now appears to finally be over.
Yeah, that was time. By the way, Thomas Diamond's only appearance in the bigs was those 16 games and 20 innings for the Cubs.
I don't know why I remember that he was number 20, but he was. And I'm going to click on it to make
it's pretty good.
And I was right. I don't know why I know that. He doesn't even have a picture on Baseball Reference. Just the number.
Wow.
That's about it. I don't know what else you can say about this Sega shit team.
I'm just glad we finally got this one out of the way.
The man Al Yellen wants to be the general manager of the Cubs. I don't know if he knows that, but Al
Is
wants
that Sam Fold?
Yes, Al wants Judd fired, and he wants Sam Fold because he's heard the name before, and that's why he wants him.
Yes, good Jewish boy. Did Sam Fold once run into the wall at Wrigley, or is that Ben Grieve?
Ben Grieve cut his face. Or
we
his
brought
sunglasses cut his face.
Right, but I thought Sam Fold
probably
also
did.
Maybe
he was a good defensive outfielder. He's throwing his body around out there.
Yeah.
Now I remember there's a Sam Fold Joe Madden connection, and it happened at Miller Park.
It's a devil race thing, right?
Yes. So Fold was playing for the Rays, and in the National League Park, I believe he had pinch hit for the pitcher, and the Jim Hickey and Joe Madden were a little slow on the uptake, and the inning ended right away, and their pitcher was not completely warmed up, the guy they were going to bring in. So Joe sent Sam to the mound and had him warm up as the pitcher, and then before he faced a batter, he went out and he replaced him with the pitcher. And Craig Counsell, with his pointy little nose, came out and threw a fit, and Joe said, he's been in the game. Right. He hit. So he participated, and I can take him out because he's played. It's not like I put him on the mound and didn't pitch to a batter. And I believe the umpires let him get away with it, and they've since clarified the rule that doesn't count. If you send someone to the mound to warm up, they have to pitch to at least one batter. That's what I remember about Sam Fold.
So Joe and Sam Fold have contributed to basically a rule change in baseball.
I believe it was just simply a clarification.
Okay, nobody actually had to dig into the.
But I remember thinking that, like, just send that guy up to warm up, and Joe actually did it. That's one of the reasons I love Joe.
Yeah, there was a Sam Fold diving into the wall in the 2007 September game. 2007, so it was important. but he didn't bash his face. He did get a double play, but the only video I can find is from Al's site, so I'm not going to link it.
So here we go. This is going to be, we could finish up right here. June 21st, 2011. The eighth inning of Monday night's game between the Brewers and Rays, manager Joe Madden found himself in a pickle. He'd used Sam Fuld to pinch hit for pitcher J.P. Howell in the top of the eighth, but he hadn't had enough time to warm up another reliever in the bullpen. He needed to stall for some time. So Madden did the most logical thing. He sent Fuld to the mound to warm up for the eighth. Considering Fuld had entered the game as a pinch hitter for the pitcher, it was completely within the rules for Madden to send Fuld to the mound, although quite unorthodox, in parentheses, and it allowed Madden the flexibility to remove Fuld from the game without facing a single batter. After Fuld had warmed up, Cesar Ramos was fully warm in the bullpen, and Madden was able to make the switch. Some people have called Madden out as making a Bush League move. But he was just working within the rules, right? If it's a silly rule, so be it. And I don't know, this guy's... It's the
unwritten rule.
It's the Rays version of Al yelling. But, so that's right.
Oh, poor.
It is. A guy named Steve Slobinski for SB Nation Tampa Bay back 11 years ago. But anyway, he finishes with, anyway, I digress, for a video of Sam Fuld's, it's like he warmed up. Brief mound appearance. Right. Check out the game recap. It's gone. There's no video of it anymore. But there you go.
Yeah. You could watch him plowing into the wall in 2007, turning a double play, which was important. I vaguely remembered it, and that's probably the only thing I'll think positively of with Sam Fuld. But that's fine. I got no hard feelings. Sam Fuld's fine.
He did pitch for Joe in the big leagues. He pitched a third of an inning in 2013. And he has a career ERA, just like Doug DeCenzo, of 0.
How about that?
But Doug earned his, right?
Yeah, he did spread over several outings. And that was back when it was truly a novelty. It's so common now, which is just so ridiculous.
It happens literally every night in baseball.
Yeah.
It happened to the Brewers were only down 8-2 to the Cubs last night, and they did it. It's a 6-run game against the fucking Cubs. You should.
And you have twice as many pitchers as you had 40 years ago. When Doug DeCenzo would come into games, it was truly a novelty. But now it's it's a total.
Doug, 4 appearances, 5 shutout innings. That's pretty good.
And especially because he was 4'9", you'd think it'd be like the hitters hitting off a tee.
Struck out 2. He walked 2. He gave up 3 hits.
Wow.
Should have had him pitch opening day instead of Carlos.
That's right. Even at his age.
All right. Well, that's more than anybody has ever needed to know about the 2010 Cubs.
Amen to that. I think good riddance.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with our special guest. It'll be probably a little more entertaining than this one. But still, glad you made it to the end. And I'm not even just talking to the listeners. I was talking to you, Mike. Didn't think you'd make it, but you did.
Put on your leg warmers, kids. It's 1985 next week.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Andy.
Many of us have herpes.